Annabelle is also kind of well, I mean, we kind of knew that Annabelle she's almost like a mail order bride. Audiobooks. I'm Dina Haynes, and I'm reading my book called Neesa. Okay, so if you are caught up, welcome back. If not, this is the time to click on the link below and or in the video to take you back to the beginning. This is a serial story in progress, and we are entering Chapter 7, but I'm about to do a recap of Chapter 6. Be sure to subscribe and hit the little bell icon so you'll be notified when the latest chapter goes up. And now it's spoiler time. Let's see. Okay, so in Chapter 6, we got a lot of information. We got to see what Ruben has really been up to. He's really not stalking Neesa. He's actually working a case. And the person who hired him is Annabelle's husband. And we learned that Annabelle is also kind of well, I mean, we kind of knew that Annabelle she's almost like a mail order bride. But anyway, so now we know what Ruben's been up to, and maybe he's finally on his way to some redemption in your mind. I think the jury is still out on Ruben right now. And so let's just keep going forward to Chapter 7 and find out more. I almost forgot. Be sure to drop a comment below telling everyone what books you're reading right now. Are there any series that you're binge reading? I'd love for us to share what's good right now and help other authors out in the meantime. So now that that's done, let's begin Chapter 7. This is Neesa's perspective. Can't we talk about this later, like when we get home? The lunch rush at Earth Cafe was finally starting to wind down. Not enough to put Annabelle at ease, though, as I cornered her in a candid conversation about us. The place was so packed that all we had to do was reach out to touch our neighbors. Why? I said. Do I embarrass you? We hang out like this all the time. Or is it... No, Annabelle whispered, cutting me off. Why do we have to do this here? She sat across the tiny two-top from me, her fingers twisting her paper napkin into a straw-like shape. Her eyes kept darting to the towering hunk of pumpkin pie that I forbid her to eat until after we finished our discussion. Trying to provoke Annabelle was easy, but getting her to connect to the situation and access her emotions was the goal. None of these strangers care that we eat pink tacos behind closed doors. Why can't you be honest with me for once and tell me what's really on your mind? The irony of this conversation wasn't lost on me after my blow-up with Ben the other day. Annabelle's complexion whitened. Then her back straightened, and like I flipped a switch, instead of backing down, she geared up for a fight. Finally. Annabelle said, "How could you reduce what we have to those terrible words? I don't know what a pink taco is, but it sounds awful. Why can't you respect that I don't want to be public with my affairs? There's more at stake for me, my marriage, for one thing. If you loved me, you would stop pushing me." I said, "If you loved me, you would leave him." Her eyes darted across the room, but there was no exit to escape through. If only it could be as simple as walking through a door into an alternate universe where a new identity awaited her. I knew the feeling, but for different reasons. I grabbed her knee under the table and brought her attention back around. "I'm just scared. I can feel you slipping from me. How much longer do I have to keep sending you home to that monster? You don't love him. You love me. I see the way it eats at you, and it kills me that I can't do anything about it." Our eyes met, and the floodgates opened. It was too easy. My tears had been threatening since we sat down, accumulating since the ugly way Ben had talked to me in front of my office building. I'd been wishing for a man who would demonstrate his feelings for me with grand gestures, but the perverted outcome with Ben proved I'd been the punchline of some cosmic joke. And the funny part was I kept having fantasies about the guy because I actually liked him. I might have gone too far since I didn't know him well enough to like him, but I definitely wanted to have sex with him. Imagining sex with him had turned into my favorite pastime. At this point, I'd have done anything as a distraction. Now, under the guise of acting, I could unleash the pressure from my pent-up feelings. The technique worked on Annabelle too. I knew the topic would hit close to reality. Her face collapsed and tears collected at the corners of her eyes, ready to spill. And scene. I blotted my face with a napkin and smiled. See? You did it. You were fully invested that time. I told you you'd get the hang of it. Annabelle beamed and wiped away her tears. Wow, that was intense. Better face to face than when we do it over the phone. I was scared because it felt so real. How do you do that? I hoisted my hand with the napkin in the air like some silly Shakespearean and pronounced, "Acting, dear child." She laughed and a few heads spun our way. I said, "Our thoughts are real to us. All it takes is a few visual images from memory or made up ones, and your mind and body will follow through. It's easier when you're dealing with a character that's close to your real self. Next time I'll give you a different character and switch up the point of view so I can explain how to form backstory. You know, you do better taking a class on this stuff. After months of us doing these exercises on your husband's game night, you're ready to learn the fundamentals. I gave you the info for my old acting coach. I know you're worried about what Jeff's going to say, but just tell him everybody takes acting classes at some point. This is LA. Annabelle said, "You should have seen how he reacted when I told him I want to act." Annabelle took a bite of pie and moaned for a fleeting moment before diving into her anger once again. He was like, "Why do you need to do that when I have all the money you could ever want? Lots of women would want to be in your shoes." I said, "And yet he was looking for a woman halfway across the world. No offense to you." Annabelle said, "No, it's true. But if he didn't do it, I wouldn't be here. And he's right. I live in a beautiful house and everything is paid for." I said, "But it's money you can't use unless you ask his permission. And he says no 90% of the time. Don't you make enough from teaching spin class to pay for acting classes on your own?" Annabelle said, "It would be difficult. I mean, I'm not full-time. But also I don't want to make him mad." The busboy came by and I waited for him to take my plate before I leaned in for privacy. Make him mad? What the hell? The guy puts a roof over your head. He doesn't own you, and you're not a child. This guy, I shook my head. Who does he think he is? And where and what century? This is not some barbaric state, and you are not his property. What was so bad back home that you would marry someone like Jeff? Annabelle poked at her pie. I wanted to come to America so bad, and I had no money to do it on my own. Annabelle was as sweet as she was mystifying. I said, "Look, you can tell me when you're ready. But if you're in trouble in your relationship, I have an extra bedroom. I want you to know you have options, okay?" Annabelle put on a smile that seemed genuine. "It's fine, really. Other than money, he treats me good." Since I had regressed to my man-hating dogma, I persisted. Men can be selfish assholes. That's why I don't date, because dating leads to marriage, leads to a man thinking he can dictate the terms of your existence. I blew air through pursed lips. "I'm so glad I'm single." Liar. Annabelle's face twisted in a look of uncertainty as she licked whipped cream off her upper lip. "Claire says those are your excuses. I know not every woman goes through what I am. Maybe if I knew he couldn't send me back to the Netherlands, I would do things differently, but you shouldn't let that stop you from finding someone." I shoved an oversized bite of pie in my mouth to keep from lashing out with my true feelings. Like, who was she to give me advice about men when she stayed in a loveless marriage? Annabelle said, "I appreciate you helping me with my improv. Do you really believe I have what it takes to be an actress?" Thank God she changed the subject. The last thing I wanted was to ruin our lunch by talking about my issues. "Sure, it's all about confidence. And if you don't have it yet, fake it. Commit to the role you're playing like you did just now. I know you were hesitant to do this here, but what you did, incorporating your natural emotions into the conversation, was the right way to go. Your instincts are spot on." After eating another bite, I put my fork down. She appeared unsure of herself again as she shoved the plate away and wiped her mouth on her napkin, leaving half the pie on the plate. Here we'd had a conversation about confidence, and I could see her taking a step back. Moody Belle was making another appearance again. With her, it was only a matter of when. I said, "Okay, what happened? One minute you're enjoying the pie, the next you're looking at it like someone dropped it on the floor." Annabelle said, "I should be more like you. How can you have 2 bites and walk away? You're like Superwoman." I said, there's nothing super about it. It's just habit, I guess. Besides, I have to watch my sugar intake. I don't know, maybe it's psychological too. Once you're on set, you'll want to avoid getting sucked into the craft services truck. Next thing you know, people higher up on the movie chain are making snide comments to you, and you'll understand why actresses starve themselves. There's an ugly underbelly to the business, execs trying to control the talent. But it's too early for you to worry about that. Annabelle looked down as if her hopes had been dashed. Jeff says I'm too fat to be an actress, and, well, Paranormal is my favorite show. I said, I should hope so. Otherwise, that protection emblem tattooed on your arm would seem pretty foolish. Annabelle said, and the lead actor is, like, my dream guy. Well, it's my dream to be on that show. Am I crazy to think I could get a role on there looking like this? If you tell me it's not going to happen, I will stop. But if there's a chance, my heart sank. Absolutely. I didn't mean for what I said to discourage you. Look, there are plenty of working actresses with curvy figures, especially now. You stand as much of a chance as any of them, but you need to own it. Don't let anything stop you. The daily grind of casting calls where you're the only actress wearing double-digit sizes, it will wear on you. If you think your husband is harsh, imagine him times 1,000, with countless strangers ripping you to pieces on social media. Everyone thinking they can take a dig at you because you're so lucky to have made it on TV. This career is not for the timid. You have to really want it. And I don't just mean the acting part. I poured the last of the French press decaf coffee into my cup and added a spot of cream. As the oil from the beans swirled over the surface, I tried not to get sucked into my secret depression. Cheering Annabelle up while in this state of mind was an uphill battle. From the disappointment on her face, I was failing. Hey, I pinned her with a glare. I wouldn't be coaching you if I didn't believe in you. Annabelle said, why would you quit if you were doing so well, Neesa? I don't understand. If I had made it that far, I would never give it up. Images from the past filled my mind. At the time, I had been just as surprised. The last role I'd turned down was a doozy. Months later, the TV show was such a hit that the actors couldn't walk the streets in obscurity anymore. I had been billed as a Hollywood don't, and my story was splashed all over the media. I still got the occasional call from my old manager wanting a statement or interview so I could explain why I turned it all down and if I had any regrets. My reasons were way too personal and way too embarrassing for public consumption. But something good did come out of it because the role had opened the door for my real estate business. I had well and truly turned a corner to be able to say that I had no regrets. I mumbled, wasn't meant to be. Annabelle stretched her arm across the table and covered my hand with hers. What's wrong, Neesa? You don't seem like yourself today. Huh? I jerked my head back and huffed as if her instincts were off, even though she had hit the nail on the head. But my shoulders tensed and I couldn't lie to her. I ran into that guy. Remember the one we met at Q's a couple weeks ago? The tiny table shook as Annabelle crossed her legs underneath it. No! Her big brown eyes widened. Ben, right? Oh, he was so cute. Are you going out with him? It would be good for you. My right eye twitched and I turned to gaze out the window, counting the happy couples seated on the cafe's patio. Gee, how would I convince her that the last thing I wanted was to go anywhere with Ben? And for good reason. Yeah, I'm aware how you and Claire feel about him. I remember the text you both sent that night and the next day. I hate to break it to you, but it's not like that. Why can't you guys just take my word for it? He's a total creep. He showed up at the Pete's up the street from my office. She stabbed at the dense ginger graham crust with her fork until it broke apart, allowing herself to finally enjoy the pie again. What's the problem? Sounds like he wants to see you. I said, the problem is I don't want to see him. Annabelle tilted her head as though smelling the lie. How did he know you were there? I said, he said he was in the neighborhood, I gestured with air quotes, and saw me across the street from Starbucks. You should have seen the drink he got, I snorted. It was the girliest drink, caramel and chocolate sauce everywhere. You can't call that coffee. I sipped the rich dark liquid from my cup to banish the image. Annabelle said, come on, you sound paranoid. How did he know you'd be in that particular neighborhood? Annabelle surprised me with her astuteness. Unfortunately for me, I had too much dignity to lie. Well, I gave him my business card, but not so he could hunt me down and hit on me again. What's he supposed to do? Pretend to buy a house as an excuse to see me? That's insane. Annabelle said, "Sounds like you sent him the wrong signal. Or did you?" She waggled her brows. I said, "Don't. It's not funny." Whatever. He's a liar. He still couldn't admit what he did for a living, and that consultant story is bullshit. Believe me. Believe nothing. The guy was still a featured character in my fantasies every night, and I wasn't about to own up to it. The fork was back in my hand, and I used it to cut into the last bit of pie before I registered what I was doing. Annabelle, on the other hand, had turned her full attention to me. "What?" I asked, my tone a little hostile. She said, "When is the last time a guy hit on you?" I said, "Oh, come on. In my business, like all the time. It doesn't mean anything." She asked, "When is the last time a guy went out of his way like this one, eh? Maybe he's the one." I said, "You know I don't believe in that, Belle." She said, "He could be your soulmate, but you won't give him a chance because why? He has sweet teeth and he won't tell you where he works? Maybe he's embarrassed to tell you." I blinked hard for a moment, then exploded with laughter. "Annabelle," my voice shook, "it's sweet tooth. Teeth is plural." Annabelle said, "Well, shouldn't all of his teeth be sweet? I don't know." I said, "Doesn't matter. It still sounds ridiculous in your accent." Annabelle said, "Everything sounds funny in my accent. So wait, why can't you go out with him and see what happens? It's not like you have to go on a second date, and you might have a good time." I rolled my eyes, and she added, "Yeah, imagine that. You're too young to give up on love. 3 years is a long time. Get over it and start making new experiences. Otherwise, your ex is winning. Trust me, don't give your power to him." "Okay, Dr. Phil," I said. Damn her, she was making too much sense. My mom kept reminding me I was throwing away good childbearing years, although that didn't seem to be a problem in LA, where women were having babies well into their 40s and 50s. But Ben, why would I want to date a guy who came to such narrow-minded conclusions about women? I could chalk up my attraction to him as evidence I was ready to take the plunge, but not with him. Perhaps with someone else. All my friends were having sex indiscriminately, but that didn't mean I had to follow suit. Sex always led to deeper emotions for me, but I could date on my own terms, and it didn't mean I was gay. What did I care if Ruben thought I was lesbian anyway? It wasn't the first time a dejected guy had slung names at me. "What makes you think he's my soulmate?" I asked. "Ben, he's hardly my type." Annabelle said, "Maybe you don't know what your type is. It's been that long." "You sound like my mother," I said. She said, "I'll take that as a compliment." I said, "I love my mom, but in this case," I shook my head, "she believes soulmates are like mere reflections of the self. If that's the case, I dress better. I definitely take hints better. I have a job I can be proud of." Annabelle said, "Don't hate Neesa. If he is your soulmate, anything bad you say about him bounces onto you and sticks like glue." Ugh. "He's not my soulmate," I said. She said, "What does it matter? You can date anybody." Annabelle was right, in a way. My ego was bruised. There was shame behind my bravado, which meant it was time to stop stalling. Would another guy cheat on me? If he did, there was nothing I could do about it, so why worry? I said, "How about this? If you take an acting class, I'll consider going on a date." Her eyes lit with excitement, and I backtracked. "Not Ben, of course, but maybe the next decent guy who's single. I'll consider going on a date. One date. If you take a step, I'll take a baby step." Annabelle smirked, a challenging look on her face. "If I take the class, you have to go on a date. No baby steps. You better keep your promise because I can get in a lot of trouble if Jeff finds out." Our hands met in the middle of the table, and with a quick handshake, my world shook. Okay, that ends chapter 7. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit the little bell icon, because I want you to know when the next chapter goes up. And I will see you next time.